Hey y'all, this is my math project on how math is used in everyday life or to a specific person. And I chose my mom because she's a general manager and she uses math every time that she has to count the drawers and make sure the right amount of money is in each drawer. And so here's my equations and my example. So for instance, if the total amount in the drawer is 1,250, my mom subtracts 200 to determine how much needs to be deposited in each one of the drawers. So the calculation is really simple, which is M equals T minus L, where M is the amount to be deposited, T is the total amount in the drawer, and L is the amount to be left in the drawer. My M value is 1,050, my T value is 1,250, and my L value is 200. And my equation is M equals 1,250 minus 200 equals 1,050. And 1,050 is what needs to be deposited, and 200 is what's left in each drawer.
I'm doing my math project on nursing. We're going to do this problem, and we're going to go with a 65-year-old woman. She presents with chest pains. She did an EKG, and the doctor orders lidocaine, 1 milligram per kilogram. She's 150 pounds. So the pounds need to be converted to kilograms, and 1 pound is equal to 0.45 kilograms. Then you take that and multiply it by the given pound. So it's 150 times 0.45 equals 67.5 kilograms. And you're going to convert kilograms into milligrams. So we're going to take 1 times 67.5 kilograms, which equals 67.5 milligrams.
Hi, my name is Amaria. This is a diagram of my math problem. This is just a tank and it's 150,000 pounds. There's a 90% cutoff limit. You stop at 90% before it can overflow. To find the 90% limit, I will do 100% minus 90%, which equals 10%. Then with the 10%, you will multiply that by 150,000. Which equals 135,000. That's the maximum 90% there can be. So however much you fill it up with, it has to be below 135,000. So next we will do 150,000 by 82.2%. 82.2% came from the directions that the worker has to know. This is how much the company requests the tank be filled up to. So then this will equal 123,300 pounds. This is a good number because it is below 135,000. So it'll be estimated like up here, up under the 90% limit. I have a 90,000 tank. The instructions say to fill it up 66.1%. So I'm going to multiply that by 66.1%. I will get a total of 59,490. This is how much is shaded. This is about 59,000. It's up under 64,000, but a little bit above 59,000. So that's how I calculated this one. Okay, for my last problem, it is a 190,000 pound tank. The instructions said ask for the tank to be filled up 89.9%. This picture is just sand. So I'm going to fill it up 89.9% of sand. So you would do 190,000 times 89.9%. This will equal 168,910 pounds. That is my total amount of sand filled up. You can see it is demonstrated because it is above 165,000, but below 170,000. It is also below the 90% limit.
Today I'll be talking about a math equation for an appraiser, and they develop and report an opinion on the value of a certain type of property. So this is house one. House one costs $1,500. House two is $109,000. House three is $103,000, and house four is $110,000. So the first step is that they have to find four houses, and they have to rank them from 1 to 4. Okay. So the first house, which is house one, that it will be multiplied by 4, which will be 420,000. House 2 will be multiplied by 3, which is 327,000. House 3 will be 103,000 times 2, which will end up being 206,000. House 4 will be 110, and it's just multiplied by itself. So next you will add all these together and get 1,063,000. Divide by 10 to get the weighted average, which will be 106,300.
Hey guys, my name is Anthony Benson, and the person I chose, his name is Jackson, and he's a computer programmer. And one of the things he would do as a computer programmer was find the maximum value in a set of data. And one of the things he did was on the weather app. And so the weather for each day of the week, he would track and use data to find the highest over the week. And so here's the equation right here. And he would track all the data for each day. And then at the end of the week, he would find the max and list them out in an algorithm. And as you can see, the maximum temperature of that week was 88 on Thursday. And another thing that he would do was in e-commerce for Amazon. And he would track like how much money was in the user's cart. And so the second equation is item 1, which is a price of $19.99 and a quantity of 2. Item 2 with the price of $7.50 with a quantity of 5. And then item 3, which is $45. And so you would times $19.99 to get 39.98. 7.5 times 5 to get 37.50. And then just $45. And he would add that up to get $122.48 in the user's cart.
Hello everyone, today I'm going to be talking about a job within the faith and family medicine practice that is given by Melissa Milligan, and she is the clinical insurance adjuster within this practice, and I'm so excited to teach all about what she does and how she does it, and she is just so good at it. But thank you for clicking on my video and choosing to watch it. So for this slide, we're going to talk about the office visit price and the Medicare and all of that. So for a typical office visit for a follow-up or things that's surrounding that is $200, and the Medicare price from the EOB is $116, and the deductible is $230. So the next step, subtraction plays the biggest role throughout this whole profession. The $200 that is coming from the office itself is being subtracted by what Medicare, the insurance company, is willing to take off, which is a part of their EOB. And so they're willing to take $102.16, which comes to an amount of $97.84, which will be transmitted by the deductible that I'm about to go into. But that's just the simple problem that sets the whole scene for the next few parts. Okay, so from the math problem that I just showed, the deductible that has to be met for the patient, which is like a requirement almost, the deductible is $230, and the patient has to meet this $230. And furthermore, they will have to pay $97.84 out of pocket. That's just how the insurance works in a way. And if the patient has no insurance and the deductible is not being met, then they will have to pay the whole office visit out of pocket because they received the service, but they don't have anything to take off of it, and they don't have a deductible to back it up, and that's just how it is. So for the last part of this, we're going to use a different scenario, but it's the same exact equation since the prices are very, very similar into considering the type it is. So for a yearly physical, it's the same $200, which for the price of the office it gives. And for the Medicaid insurance, again, they take off $102.16, which comes to a total price of $97.84. But in this case, since it is a physical and it is covered, there is no deductible. And since it's also a physical and everything is covered, the rest is written off of the books and the patient does not have to worry about paying a thing, which is the most interesting part about the insurances and this type of thing. But I would like to wrap everything up and say thank you so much for watching my video. And I'm so thankful and grateful to have gotten able to talk to Melissa Milligan for her contribution to this project. And thank you so much for your time.
This is Jacoby Parnell, and he works at Subway. And he's a pretty hard worker, you know? Wait, what does he do? Aside from making my sandwiches, him and his team count and bake a bunch of bread. Like, a lot. Here's the formula. P times L plus K is greater than or equal to N times L. This is boring. This sucks. We could do so much better. And this is... Now you're probably wondering, what's this goofy little symbol over here? Well, this is just something that the betas wouldn't understand. Sigma notation. What?
No, alright. I know that sounds bad.
This is a baking pan. And P represents how many baking pans there is. So there's 3. And there's 5 bread on each, which is L. So L will equal to 5. This box is the leftovers. So probably from yesterday. So you're going to add those leftovers on top. Now for the other half. His box requires a minimum amount of pans for the next day, which is represented by the variable N, multiplied by L, which is how much bread he can get on each pan. So now we have Jacoby working at Subway. So the variable P times L plus K is greater than or equal to N times L. If he has 4 pans and 5 can go on each pan, 9 left over, and a minimum of 5 pans for the next day, 4 times 5 plus 9 is greater than or equal to 5 times 5, which is 29 greater than or equal to 25, which is true. That means he has enough bread for the next day.
Oh yeah!
But wait, what about
we
the
like
dough?
to respect wildlife. Backflip!
You see, every morning, Jacoby has dough and needs to bake that thing to get some bread. Now that he has the bread, we need to know how much bread is left in his boxes of dough. X represents each box with each having 120 pieces of dough. So it'll be 120x. Easy, right? The formula for this is 120x minus P times L is greater than or equal to 0, where P is the number of pans and L is the number of bread on each pan. For example, if we only had one box,
there's only one left.
And if he uses 8 pans with 5 bread on each pan, it would be 120 times 1 minus 8 times 5, which is greater than or equal to 0. So 120 minus 40 is 80, which is greater than 0, which means Jacoby has enough dough to make bread for the next day. All right, and we're done. And by using these two formulas, Jacoby has enough bread for the next day to make all the customers happy. This has truly been a Subway.
I'm Jacoby Farnell, and I approve this message.
What's your name and occupation?
My name is Jeff Bisbee, and I am a pharmacist.
How do you use math as a pharmacist?
As a pharmacist, we use math on a daily basis, and one of the ways that I use math is to help calculate antibiotic dosing in patients by using their height, their weight, and their kidney function.
Our first question is, a patient on TPN, which means total parental nutrition, needs to get a total of 3,800 milliliters per day of drip to meet their nutritional needs. At what rate in milliliters per hour will the TPN need to run to achieve the nutritional goals? Our equation for this question is 3,800 milliliters over 24. 24 is the amount of hours in a day. This equation equals 158.3 milliliters per hour. Our second question is, you are asked to compound a norepinephrine drip. Norepinephrine is a neurotransmitter that is essential for cognitive function. If you make a norepinephrine 16 milligrams and 250 milliliters drip, how many milliliters of norepinephrine will be needed? The hospital's stock bottle of norepinephrine is 4 milligrams and 4 milliliters. So we need to find out how many milliliters it would take to reach 16 milligrams of norepinephrine. We can do that using this equation. 4 milligrams over 16 times 4 milliliters over x. What we would do is 16 times 4 is 64, divided by 4 is 16. X equals 16 milliliters, which is the amount of milliliters we would need to reach 16 milligrams of norepinephrine.
Hi, my name is David Pruitt. I'm a RCC Math 171 student, and this is my video for the project on real-life examples of math, and I'm here with my sister.
My name's Erin. I'm a nurse at Scotland Memorial Hospital.
So, this equation is gonna be how much medicine to give a patient. So, this medicine we're trying to prescribe is diazepam. The doctor prescribes 2 milligrams of diazepam, and the vial that we have to get it out of is 5 milligrams for every 5 milliliters. So, to set this equation up, what you would do is you take how many milligrams the doctor prescribes and put it over X milliliters, because we're trying to find out how many to give the patient, how many milliliters. So we set that equal to the prescription on the vial, and what it is 5 milligrams over 5 milliliters. So after that we cross multiply, and you'll get 10 equals 5x. Now, just like any other math equation, we have to get x by itself. So you would divide both sides by 5. And for this side, you would get 2 and it equals x. Now, that shows that if the doctor prescribes 2 milligrams of diazepam to the patient, then you would give 2 milliliters. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Eric Zing, and the person I interviewed is Guojin Zing, who's my father, and he owns the Great Wall Restaurant in McCall. So a problem involving math that he might face in his career is that his roof is leaking, so he wants to reinforce it with roof rolls. So this involves geometry because he needs to know the amount of roof rolls that he needs to repair his roof. If his roof is 200 feet by 120 feet, and each row covers 35 feet by 3 feet. We'll also assume that the roof and the rows are perfect rectangles. So the first thing he needs to do is to find the total area of his roof, which can be determined by multiplying 200 by 120 to get 24,000 feet squared. Next, he needs to find the area of each roof row, which can be determined by multiplying 35 by 3 to get 105 feet squared. Next, he has to divide to find out how many rows are needed. This means that he needs to find out how many roof rows can fit into his roof. So after dividing, he gets 228.5 with a remainder of 7.5. However, this remainder in 7.5 do not matter because he has to round up since he cannot buy less than one whole roof row. This means that he needs 229 rows to reinforce his roof.
Hello, my name is Ian Collard, and this is my Math and People Project video. So let's get right into it. The person I interviewed was my sister. My sister works at the Behavioral Constitution and Psychological Services as a behavioral technician for kids with autism. My sister works with clients whose success is determined by various trials. An independent trial is where the kid can do something on their own. A gesture is where my sister will do something, and then if the child cannot do it, she will point at them, and then if the kid does it, then it does mean a fail. A partial physical is where you place your hands on their hands, for example, and then they do the rest. A full physical is where you put your hands on their hands, and if they still don't do it, you just do it for them. So everything I just said, apart from the independent, is all fail. And there's also verbal, like systemic and intraverbal. Intraverbal is where you say something like twinkle, twinkle, little, and then they have to say star. But if they don't say it, then that's a fail. So what is the math with this? Now, I'm not going to reference to the graph that are used. That is just information that I received. But we're actually going to focus on the following equation right here, which is AR, or accuracy rate, equals number of trials divided by total trials. Now, the number of trials means how many trials they did independently, and then the total trials is what it says is how many trials the client has done. So, for example, we have AR equals 4 trials over 5 total equals 4 over 5. This equals out to 0.8 times 100 equals 80%. Now 80% in this case is passing, and they move up to generalization and maintenance. Generalization is where the client knows the information or the topic across multiple platforms, and then they can move on to maintenance, which means they have mastered it. And then we have AR equals 5 trials over 10 total equals 5 over 10 equals 0.5 times 100, and that equals out to 50%. Now 50%, obviously that means that they are not proficient and they have not passed, so they will undergo more trials, and that not passing will stay on their progress until they get up that 80% and then go to generalization and maintenance. That is all for my Math and People project. Thank you very much.
My name is Jaslyn Klein. I am an 11th grader here at Scotland Early College High School. Here's my project for Math 171. I chose my aunt for this project. She works in a nursing home. They use many different types of math, such as units of measurement, ratios, fractions, and so on. But here is the two main types they use in their day-to-day life. To calculate medicine for a patient, you first do the number of pills equals dosage per pill divided by dosage required. My example for this was 500 milligrams divided by 250 milligrams equals 0.5 milligrams. And 0.5 milligrams is how much to give the patient. To calculate how much weight a patient loses, subtract weight loss from current weight, which will equal target weight. My example was 180 pounds minus 15 pounds equals 165 pounds.
Okay, my math project was about analyzing hourly production in zinc manufacturing. Basically, my project just relates to manufacturing in like factories and stuff, kind of relating to sinks because that's what my topic's going to be about. Okay, my math connection or the person I interviewed was my boyfriend. His name's Robert. And I wrote, the person I'll be using for my math project is my boyfriend. He works in a factory that produces sinks, and every hour the workers must keep track of the amount of sinks they have made and subtract them from the previous ones to see if they have reached a goal. So basically, at the beginning of the shift of the job, there's a person that sets a certain goal for them to make a certain amount of sinks, and they have to keep up with each amount of sinks they make each hour to subtract them to see if they reach the goal. Here's an overview of sink production so you can kind of just get the idea of what it is. Sink production involves many several stages. It includes design, material selection, fabrication, and finishing manufacturing efficiencies. Can be significantly impaired by the choice of materials and production processes requiring careful consideration to help balance cost and quality. Basically, if you don't pick the right amount of things to make the sinks, or if you don't do the job right, then the sinks aren't going to come out as they should, which is going to cause money to be less because you're having to remake, and the time to be less because, the time to be more time consuming because you're taking too long. Here's my example problem. Basically, I said, say the goal for the night of the sinks would be 150. The workers would need to keep up with the amount made the first hour, and for the first hour, I put S1 for the initial start, and they would have to subtract it from the second hour, which would be S2, and S2 is also the other amount. And in order to see how many sinks have been produced, they would have to subtract that. So basically, let's say that the first hour, the workers made 50 sinks, and the second hour, they made 100. So you would do 100 subtract 50. And that would only mean they made 50 sinks in 1 hour, so they aren't technically meeting the goal, if that was the case. Okay, here's the summary. The analysts of hourly production revealed critical factors influencing manufacturing efficiencies, including workforce skills and material quality. Employing recommended strategies can maximize production processes and complete overall output. Basically, if the workers aren't making enough of sinks in an amount of time, then it could be either the workers' fault or the machines that's making the sinks, which could cost the company money. So, this was what my project was on, and
That's it. Bye.
Hi, my name is Andrew Creed. I'm in Math 171, and this is my dad, Clay Creed.
Hi, I'm a registered forester in the state of North Carolina, and part of my job is managing timber and also managing for wildlife.
For today, we're going to find the area of a food plot because this ties into what he does for a living. How does this tie into it?
Well, it adds in so you can do the calculations of area to determine how much lime and fertilizer you'll need on a food plot to produce the maximum vegetation that you can produce for your wildlife.
Okay, so what do we have here?
This is what we're going to do is we divided this up into a rectangle. So this is the long side, which would be the length. And Andrew and I measured this out between the pink flags, and that's 68 feet. And then what we did is measured the width at the end, which is 32 feet. And then Andrew's going to show you how to calculate the math problem, and then we're going to determine the area in square feet.
And the width is 32 feet. The length is 68 feet.
All right, we've measured our length times width, and the length is 68 feet times the width, which is 32 feet.
Eight and 2 is 16. Carry the 1. 2 times 6 is 12. Add the 1, 13. This goes away. 24. 8 and 3 is 24. We add the 0. Put the 4. Carry the 2. And 6 times 3 is 18, 19, 20. So then we add this up. We get 6, 7, 1, 2. So when all this is solved, we get 2,176 square feet.
After determining the area and the acres, which is 500 of an acre, we are now able to determine how much lime and fertilizer will be needed for the next crop, which is going to be rye and oats.